I'm Donald Rotermund, and I'm pleased to have this opportunity to introduce to you a new organ collection by Concordia, Eastertide Fughettas. It's a companion volume to one that was published about a year ago, Christmastide Fughettas. All the settings in this collection are very accessible. In fact, a goodly number of organists will probably say they're sight readable. Most fughettas are relatively short, and as a result, they don't serve in the service quite as well because of their brevity. All of the tunes in this collection are complete. You hear the entire tune. That's helpful not only for lay people to follow along, but if you choose to use organ stanzas, this group of settings can help you and will serve in that way because of the complete tune. All of the settings begin with several anticipating or introductory measures that precede the first entry of the chorale or hymn tune, as the case may be for the Fughetta setting. These opening measures I see as having some potential for several other uses if you so chose. With hymns that have multiple stanzas, I think you could extract these and use these as a brief interlude, which would have thematic relationship to the rest of what you're doing and playing, especially if you use these as introductory hymn preludes for the singing of the hymn. Another would be these short measures, for the most part, to use them as a kind of introduction or even intonation, perhaps for the last hymn, where you don't need and probably wish to have as long of an introduction. In a similar way, I'd like to point out that you could look at the ending of the settings, and in most of them you'll find that they treat the last phrase of the hymn. Sometimes they revert to the first, but either way they can work nicely as an introduction to the final hymn, or if you so chose to use them, you could think of them as a mini coda played after the singing of the hymn itself. If you're interested, let me at least mention and offer a few thoughts on the compositional kind of elements that are found in these collections, which there are a number. One is the use of imitation, canonic being one of them, and the other, the idea of echo phrases. And I would even insert here, you could feel the freedom, if you wish to lengthen some or add additional contrast, to apply that idea of echo phrases on places where they aren't even indicated, if you so chose. There are little motives that come from the tune in some way, most of the time from melodic material, sometimes rhythmic, and those are used quite generously. I'll mention some of those a little later in another context. Counterpoint were longer phrases, some of them being melodic and some even rhythmic, are used to keep connecting. And the last one here that I'll mention is symbolism. I've elected a number of times to let the text itself direct me to some possibilities of expression. And so you have that in several examples. One of them that I think I would start with symbolism is the second setting in this group of pieces on Christ is Arisen. It's on the old tune, Christ ist erstanden, which was the background and the basis for Christlag and Todesbahn, Christ ist erlitten, Death Strong Bands. This one begins with a single note and then is followed by a measure of silence. And after that, the note enters an octave later and gradually increases in rhythmic activity and ascends and culminates in a major chord at the end. So you can see life, death, resurrection ideas reflected in this introduction. Another I would point out is with Awake, Awake, my heart with Gladness uses just a short little rhythmic, rhythmic, melodic also pair of notes. They are disjunct. As the first two notes in the tune go down, awake, I've chosen to invert them and enlarge the interval a bit, still disjunct, to portray or convey awake, awake, or get up, or arise. That kind of symbolism is there. Another that I have used, particularly in connecting two tunes, the melody of Earth and All Stars and the text that goes with that, Hallelujah, Jesus is risen. I've lifted, so to speak, the initial phrase of Awake My Heart with Gladness and used that as a connecting and a familiar phrase in this tune that comes back numbers of times, which brings two hymns in a way of Easter character together. If you would be interested and this idea maybe would appeal to you a little bit, I would encourage you to look at several other of the hymns in this collection and see if you might make an ABA link and connection between three pieces, especially if you would like to make it a longer setting. So in this case, you could start with Awake My Heart with Gladness, and as the B setting, the Earth and All Stars, which has that phrase from Awake My Heart, and then return to the initial one, Awake My Heart with Gladness. In that case, probably you would not use the repeats, which are optional, unless you needed considerable length. But it's just an idea of using this material in a couple of different ways. So I'd encourage you to experiment with them. I hope that you found this video useful and at least as an introduction to Eastertide Fughettas. I thank you for viewing it, and perhaps we'll meet again if you choose to play any of the settings in Eastertide Fughettas. Thank you.